take over your trap.
And welcome into Touchdown Live. As always, I am Matthew Travis.
Jones certainly has a lot of chemistry here at Hereford. Goes to McGinn.
Millen is Smith in the tackle for Alabama.
To the M3 show.
It's not always good for the quarterback on the other side to be talking stuff so early in the game.
Look, I don't have a kid on the way this week, but it's almost time for Alabama football season, baby.
Welcome back to another episode of the M3 Show. Alabama goes into Athens and gets the win when the lights went out in Georgia. Alabama wins at 24-21. People were saying Alabama was dead. The dynasty was dead. They were firing Kalen DeBoer off, and here we are. Here we are a couple weeks later, just like it doesn't matter. Atlanta, Athens, Tuscaloosa, Alabama will beat Georgia. Of course, joined by former Alabama players Mac Hereford and Josh McMillon. A big week for Mac. We'll get into the Hereford Bowl here in a little while, but before we get there, Josh, what the hell are you wearing?
Man, look, you don't like my goods. I picked this up the other day for Mac. You know, we're going to the Hereford Bowl. We're going down there and watch it together. I'm supporting his home team.
You're a clown.
Any comments on it, Mac?
He's a clown. That's all I'll say. But he looks good in it. I'm not going to lie. He's got the glasses. He's got the Vanderbilt hoodie. He looks like he got a master's degree from Vanderbilt himself. I mean, look at the guy. He looks like a scholar wearing that shirt. So he looks pretty good in it.
Engineering degree. So I'm a little smart, you know. But out from the University of Alabama, not Vanderbilt.
Of course, we'll get into the Hereford Bowl as we are coining it. A big week in the Hereford household this week. Of course, big week for Mac. His two former teams playing one another. But before we get into that, what a win for Alabama. They outscored Georgia 24-21. All 24 of those points coming in the first half. Ty Simpson, another. We tweeted it out. It was the Wisconsin game. Theismann, we're starting the campaign. Ty, another big week, 24 for 38, 276 yards, 2 touchdowns plus 12 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown, and that is where I want to start. Mac, what did you see out of Ty this week? Another phenomenal performance.
Hey, it was about Ty. You get what I'm saying here? It was about time that it happened. No, I'm just kidding. Trying to put a little play on words. Ty Simpson, we start off with the beginning of the game. I don't know if people have probably seen clips. Maybe you saw it on TV, whatever it was. But Ty Simpson giving his guys like a pregame speech, a little pump up before walking onto the field. And I saw comments that he sounded a lot like someone who was from the Saban era, And if you listen to the way he talked to those guys, how much pride he has to play for the University of Alabama, that first all looked awesome. And I love to see him not only being a leader by action, but vocal leader. As a quarterback for the Tide. And then we talk about the game, there's a lot of other factors that help him play well, like the offensive line did a good job in pass protection. And you can see what that does for him. It just opens him up to be more confident and comfortable. And the biggest thing was this was like the first game that he was going to have a real true challenge, in my opinion, since Florida State. And he handled it well. The pressure didn't faze him. He looked like he was meant to be back there the whole entire time. There was times where Georgia was creeping back in. He looked nothing but locked in. There was he had multiple great passes and looked good on his feet, as I've been preaching all year. He can do it on the run as well as in the air. And, Ty Simpson, put your money on Ty for the Heisman, hammer that shit. As I said on a different show the other day, Ty, what a guy, man. He loves the University of Alabama. He loves Alabama. And he is there during a time where it is about money and making money. Ty is about sticking it out and being the guy for the Crimson Tide.
Making money. He signed a Gatorade deal this week, too, so he's making some money. Ty is currently has the second best odds to win the Heisman behind Dante Moore of Oregon. Dante Moore at plus 750 on a couple books. Ty at plus 900. I got him at plus 1450 after that first drive, so feeling good about that. We've been talking about it for a couple weeks. Josh, how big was it to just see the difference from the Florida State game to this week, looking comfortable on the road against a ranked opponent, because our next three games and five of our next six games are against ranked opponents, the only outlier being a road game to South Carolina. So, how big was it to see that performance on the road in the hostile Georgia atmosphere?
I think it was pretty big. I mean, it's very calming for me as a fan, alumni of the University of Alabama, really seeing the team really come together and find their identity. I really feel like Ryan Grubb and Ty Simpson have really made a connection, where his thought process and some of the schemes that he wants to see that he wants to see and he wants Ty to see on the football field, they really kind of welded perfectly together this game. I mean, Ty is, over 50% on completion averages. Like, he's doing great things out there, and he's distributing the ball to all the receivers. You had Isaiah Horton with the catch. You had Jordan Bernard, Brooks, even Caden Proctor. So seeing those guys, being able to get the ball and be able to do special things with them was really impressive for me, and I'm really excited about where we're going forward. As far as defensively, I really feel like we took another stride. We came out there with a lot of intensity. We came out there smacking guys in the mouth. Bray Hubbard with another phenomenal performance. I mean, it was one play. Guy came right downhill, smacked the running back in the backfield, and I think it caused a fumble. But, having your lead guys being able to really call attention on the football field and be like, hey, look, I'm here. I'm ready to play. I'm ready to play to this Vanderbilt standard and punch you in the mouth. So it was absolutely great to see these guys go into Athens and get the dub. And it's very exciting for all the Alabama fans out there on what, the future holds for us.
Josh, and you said it right there. How big was it? I mean, Alabama scored all 24 of their points in the first half. They were up 10 going to half, and they didn't score in the second half, and they held that lead. Just talk about your overall takeaways from the defense. You mentioned Bray Hubbard right there. The rush defense was struggling at times, especially those rushes to the left side. Georgia went for 227 yards and two touchdowns on the ground. Their long being that 43-yard rush from Chauncey Bowens, but they held them to only 7 points. They did their job in the second half,
Mm-hmm.
especially that goal line stand. Just talk
Yeah.
about that specifically, the goal line stand, and you guys, when you were a player, the pride you took in being able to hold them out of the end zone when it was a and goal situation.
Well, I feel like that goal line stand is probably the most thing that I admire the most. When it's all said and done, and here we are within 10 yards of the touchdown. I mean, your back is up against the wall. What are you going to do? I feel like it was great play calling by the defensive coordinator. All guys were flying around to the ball, peppering the ball carrier, and we were able to come out of that situation with no points or a field goal. So I feel like it's another stride just being taken. We have to put some of those smaller things under the microscope, kind of get them evaluated so it's not coming up when we need it the most. But I feel like it's another stride. 227 yards is a lot of rushing yards. So I would definitely say that's not something that I look at it and I see like, hey, look, that's an area for improvement. So I think we can definitely get better there. But I mean, when our number was called and we had to perform, we stepped up and we made plays happen. So I love that. We need to continue that momentum going further down into the season because it's going to come up big for us.
And speaking of rushing the football, Jam Miller finally made his season debut after dealing with that injury, holding him out of those first three games. 16 rushes, 46 yards. Longest rush was 7 yards, but just good to see him back doing a couple things, not with the ball in his hands. Alabama went for 38 carries for 117 yards. So definitely some movement in the right direction. And Mac, for you, what did you see really out of Jam Miller, but out of the rushing attack as a whole as well?
Yeah, like you said, I mean, it was just first thought was seeing Jam in there was just extremely exciting, knowing Georgia would have to prepare for that. And, the fact that we didn't get as many yards as we wanted to or didn't, I didn't think the run game was as good as it needed to be, but it still was effective and it still helped out with the game plan because it kept Georgia guessing. And then you throw in Kevin Riley, who we've also talked a lot about on here throughout the season. he looked good too, and is a receiving back as well. And like just knowing going forward, we have those two guys available, and in that two back system that we're kind of running now, like subbing them out a good bit. I'm really excited. I would just hope that the offensive line has to continue. We did a good job with the pass protection, but we really, Slade came on here and talked about it. Those offensive linemen really have to go and create those holes. And then we look at our defense. When I was looking at Georgia's run game, again, 227 yards rushing is not what we want to see from an Alabama defense. And a lot of that was because the offensive line on Georgia's side was really moving our guys back, made it
Hmm.
more difficult on those linebackers in the secondary to have to really step up and make those plays. And we got lucky, with Bray Hubbard getting the fumble, forcing the fumble like on that play. If Bray Hubbard wasn't there, that run could have gone for a crap ton more. So yeah, it was exciting to see him back, and just the offense in general. I the creative play calling was electric. I don't know if it's like that's something I want to see, and I want to see more. We had a pass, we had I think a reverse to Jeremy Bernard that didn't end up going well, where he was about to pass the ball. We're gonna have those kind of mistakes when you open up that side of the playbook, but then you see big boy Caden Proctor getting his catch. My receiver of the game, Caden Proctor's footwork looked great. He went straight downfield, no juking,
Broke a
no
couple
moving.
tackles.
he, he just broke a couple towels and he bulldozed down there. Shout out Caden Proctor. But that is what the fans want to see. As a fan and as someone who loves the game of football, I'm like, that's exciting. Why aren't more programs doing that kind of stuff? Obviously, there's a thing with having just the standard of excellence and that old just bulldoze offense and basic plays, but it's really fun as a fan to see those plays that are exotic, different, creative that also
Hmm.
work.
Yeah.
And think about Caden Proctor. He loved that shit. He loved getting the football and bulldozing over those guys. I just wish he would have gotten a touchdown. Next time we'll have to get him one, and hopefully seeing him in the offense some more. It was almost like the Black 40, back in the day when Josh
Hey,
McMillon
look,
had to make some moves on offense.
came through there. I-40. We clearing the way, baby.
That's what I like
Josh,
to
he said
see.
it right there. How terrified would you have been on defense seeing a 366-pound offensive lineman coming at you with a football?
Yeah, I told my wife, and she was like, is that a pass? Is that a run? I was like, look, I don't know what it is, but I can tell you once that guy takes 2 steps upfield, there's no stopping him. He's a train. You better get out of the way. I loved it, and I was shocked, but I would be terrified running full speed at this guy, knowing that he has at least 150 pounds on me. So I, you know, I was a real nose hard linebacker, but I would try to take a good shot at him high so I can get him down on the ground.
Georgia was lucky he was tiptoeing the sideline because we could have been on our 1 yard line. He would have taken it the full 100 yards if he didn't run out of steam. That was a great play. And you mentioned the creative play calling. I think that third down to ice the game was an underrated play as well. The
Yes.
reverse game on the line, you're only up three. You're
Mm-hmm.
gonna have to kick it to that, punt it to them if you don't get it, and just the balls to throw that reverse, throw the flat out right there to ice the game. Just really great play calling. Love
And
what I'm
Ty
seeing out of
Matthew executed that play so damn
100%.
well. He
Mm-hmm.
sold it so good. Like he sold it the opposite direction, turns around, makes a perfect pass, and then bang, like we get the first down. Like I'm glad he brought that up because that was an awesome play.
Yeah.
Um, Overall, too,
Yeah,
just the fact that you talk about that moment, something we did well that I was wanting to see is how do we perform under pressure? Ty, we come out 14-0. How's it going to look how's it going to look in the second half when they start to creep back in?
Mm-hmm.
And it looked good. We maintained, which was the thing, which I was excited to see. Just
Yeah.
again, excited for Ty for the rest of the season, just seeing him in a hostile environment, perform under that pressure in the offense and defense as well.
yeah,
Yeah. I
and
think.
we all said it last week. How is Alabama going to respond when they get kicked in the mouth? And
Mhm.
they got up 14-0. Georgia quickly made it a game, touchdown there in the second. Bray Hubbard forces the fumble that leads to a field goal. That sequence of plays was extremely disappointing. We could only get 5 yards when we have goal to go after a fumble. But besides that, that's how they responded. They it was a 14-0 game, then it was 17-14, and they responded immediately with an 8-play, 75-yard drive for a touchdown to take a 10-point lead into halftime. So, Josh, you were about to say it there. Just massive that we didn't see it in that Florida State game. So it's
Mhm.
very refreshing just to see they are able to respond when they get kicked in the mouth playing against a good team.
Yeah, I think, we're so used to what Coach Saban has done and what he's established here, especially with the run game. We have a different offensive coordinator in the building, a different head coach. And I think we're starting to see a different trajectory of where the University of Alabama offensive side of the ball is going to go. Back when we had Lane Kiffin, it was the tour era. Oh, and it was Jalen Hurts. Like, it was air raid, it was RPO. We would be having 400 or 500 yards, and the scoreboard it would be like 52 to like 6 or 13. So we're starting to see a change in how we're approaching the game. A little bit of a more conservative approach as far as passing, throwing in the easy runs, 3rd and 3, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 1, where we can get the first down and kind of reestablish our game plan. So I think that's where we're kind of heading to, and it kind of it has me excited because just the way we can open up the playbook now. I don't feel like we, and it's no shy away from Coach Saban. Who's very strict and to his way and how he did things, but we're open to more explosiveness and more exciting plays with this new offensive coordinator we have, and I like to see it. I think it's bringing excitement back to college football. I think it's bringing excitement that we need back from when we lost all of the fans to Coach Saban leaving. It's going to do a lot of good for the University of Alabama later on down the road.
You said it there, and you're excited about the way we're trending. I think another thing you're probably excited about, you've been talking about it all year. Saturday was the first time since Kalen DeBoer has been at Alabama that Alabama had less penalties than the opponent. How big is that? You've been talking about the penalties all year. Just talk about that and how good of a sign that is as well.
Well, I feel like it's a great thing, and I think that's probably one of the things that we kind of harped on during that bye week time. 4 penalties for 16 yards, and I think Georgia may have had 6 for like 60 or something like that. But that is fundamental when you're talking about playing a national ranked team. You have to go in there and you have to perform to the standard. Can't have turnovers, you can't have penalties, and you cannot have mental errors. And I feel like those 3 areas where we really showed up, and we didn't show that we were, lackadaisical in those areas. And ultimately, it came out to our advantage, and we came out with the dub. So it's key, and I feel like we need to keep trending towards that direction to win a national championship.
Yeah, no doubt. And we talked a lot about Ty, and Mac brought up the pregame speech, but I think another thing, the Instagram live went viral of him dancing and everything. He took
Take over your trap.
and he was doing so with it looked like a branch from
The
the
hedge.
shrub, yeah, between the hedges. So Mac, just talk about that and how cool it is to see, like, they all love Ty. They're all rallying around Ty. He's got the captain badge for a reason. How big is that to really believe in Ty as a leader and to see things like that and them just having fun after a big win?
Yeah, I hate making like comparisons because I think individuals are so uniquely different, but I would like to compare him to Mac Jones. Josh can remember the way when Mac
The
Jones got
Joker.
in the football game, the Joker, the charisma that he brought and the way people like wanted to rally behind him and just love Mac Jones, and I
Mhm.
think you see the same thing with Ty Simpson, a guy who again has been there year in and year out, putting in the work. There's so many guys who never get the opportunity at Alabama. They work their tails off and they never get a chance. And they're great players. And you see it when they do get their chance, like with Ty Simpson. He's a great player. Now he's got his shot. He's put in his time. He's put in his effort. People have been able to see that. And so they're naturally going to love a guy like that. And then seeing him have fun with his teammates after the game just shows you even more that those guys don't only think of him as a great leader, but he's a friend and someone they can have fun with. And so seeing that after the game was was lit. You know what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
would have loved to be in that locker room, like popping a bottle of champagne. You know what I'm saying? We wouldn't be doing that at the way Alabama was back in the day, but like shit, now that'd be kind of wicked.
Yeah, he surely has a little swagger about himself. I really like Ty. You know, he kind of has that demeanor like, hey, look, he's here to handle business. We take everything seriously, but, you know, when it's time to play and have fun and enjoy those 24 hours after the game, like, look, this is what you work all 7 days a week, 24 hours throughout a day for. So, you know, it's good to take that time, have a little, rest, relaxation, and, get back to work for the next opponent.
Not only that, shushing the crowd after rushing in for a touchdown. It was good to see that because I think a lot of people just haven't seen that side of Ty. So it's neat to see him having fun after a big performance. And another thing that stuck out to me was just him staying composed after that the walk-in touchdown Ryan Williams had first drive of the game, another drop, two drops in two games for Ryan, two drop touchdowns, excuse me, and just Ty staying composed, being able to stay in the pocket, really navigate I don't want to call him a game manager because he's not, and that has a unfortunately a bad connotation to it nowadays, but just manage the game well and be able to stay composed after that big drop and be able to run him down the field and get in the end zone. So I think that was a really key part of the game after the walk-in touchdown that Ryan Williams dropped, being able to stay in that game and really lead that drive down the field. And Mac, kind of going back to you, we talked a lot about the drops going into the bye week, the work he was going to have to put in. Unfortunately, we saw another big drop this week, what would have been an easy walk-in touchdown. Just like in golf, it's the yips. In baseball, you can go through a bad streak. Kind of what is potentially going through his mind of like those drops? And he recovered. He had a decent game after that, but it's 2 weeks in a row now that he's had a significant drop for a touchdown.
I mean, we got into the really nitty gritty of it, and I talked about the different, like, legit ways that someone could make a drop, whether it's just mentally you're not there, like you going through essentially a yips, or there's a big thing that like always used to drive me nuts, which was like this anxiety pre-catching the ball. Like you're waiting there, you're so anxious, and you're waiting for the ball to get to you that you almost freak out, like you don't know what to do in that time
Mhm.
period in between. For Ryan Williams, the first thing I'd like to say is like, look, it's not a great drop. You're at the Division 1 level. You are on one of the best teams in college football. It can't happen. That stuff can't happen. We need those plays. But as a fan and to the other fans, I'll just say that like we got to support them. We got to be with them through and through. It's not going to help them to hear all the outside noise that Ryan Williams keeps making drops. Ryan Williams does this. Ryan Williams is an unbelievable athlete and an incredible player. He's like a ballerina on his feet. We might not know the problems or the issues of why he's dropping. I would like to say the fact that it's kind of happened a little bit more, obviously this year in the beginning of season comparatively to last year. I think it's a combination of factors of maybe a lot of pressure and hype. And then again, there's all this outside surrounding noise because he's got such a big platform on social and digital media, that it puts him under a little bit more of a microscope, and starting off with not a great game and having to play a different position than he played last year, having to make some challenging catches, and then you kind of go into that slump. It's sometimes really hard to get out of it. Like I can remember sometimes, whether it be in practice weeks or, whatever it be, that my hands just weren't where they needed to be. And I
Mm.
practiced more than anyone catching. I would sit there on that jug machine. I'm learning how to juggle in my room. Wearing these glasses that like blink and trying to catch cards out of the sky. I was doing weird shit to get my hands where they needed to be. And sometimes I just couldn't catch. So it could completely just be a mental thing that he's going through, that he needs to work through. And I'm sure Alabama will give him the resources to be able to work on that. It can't happen. That's the end all be all of the story. It just can't. But he's such a good player, and I think that throughout the season we're going to see less and less of that. And I think he's really going to catch his stride and be Ryan Williams that we know he can be, and even better than what we think he can be leading into the rest of the season.
Yeah, and the good news, like I said, is we did score on that drive, so it didn't ending up being a factor in the game or really on that drive at all. So I don't want to say it's okay because that can't happen. That easily could have been the difference between a win and a loss. That was on second down. We don't convert, and all of a sudden we actually score 17 points in the first half and we lose 21-17. Obviously not that easy. There's a butterfly effect that goes with that, but so much to say that could have easily played a factor in this game. Thank God it didn't. But the hope is obviously he corrects that, and I think all three of us have a lot of confidence that he will correct that going forward. The good news is Isaiah Horton had a phenomenal game. 5 receptions, 65 yards, and a touchdown. That alongside Jeremy, who's looked steady all season long, whether it be throwing like he did. He was 1 for 1, almost had another pass earlier in the game, but Jeremy has been phenomenal. But Isaiah Horton really showed out and proved to be a what could be a three-headed monster when it comes to receivers, the receiver core at Alabama.
Yeah, it looks pretty electric. I mean, again, hard to compare it to anything in the past because I don't know if there will ever be a group of wide receivers like we had when I was there. But this group of guys is something special. And Horton, played with Ty in high school on like 7-on-7 teams and different kind of things, trained with him. He actually trains at a place right down the street from me. So excited to see a guy who's from Nashville area really go out there and ball, but he's just consistent. They're all those like, him and Jeremy Bernard are guys that look like they want to win. They have great fundamentals. They're fundamentally sound, great route runners, and they get the job done. And that goes a long, long way. Now, do I think they're also extremely talented and, ballers? Yes. But I think the coolest thing for them is they're consistent. And I love Horton coming out. It's like each game we're seeing him more and we're seeing him more and we're seeing him more. And that's again to the creative, like offensive play calling that we've seen these guys be utilized. And I just think it adds so much more. Like, think about last year. We thought going into this year, Ryan Williams was the absolute star. Now we got three guys who are stars, three awesome weapons. Talk about actually four, because Brooks, the freshman, is unbelievable. And to talk about consistency, he is as consistent as it gets. The guy makes big catches and big time moments. And so that's exciting again to see for the future of Alabama football.
5. Put some respect on Caden Proctor's
Yep,
name.
my
But
bad. Caden Proctor, my receiver of the game, Caden Proctor. I loved his footwork. I loved his stance. I loved everything about it. Give that guy. He needs to be put up for the what is the award for the wide receiver of the year?
the Bolitnikoff.
Yep, the Blinton call. I forget how you say it. I botch it every single time.
Bolitnikoff. We'll do
Blitnikoff award.
some English classes later. I thought you went to Vanderbilt.
Look,
Yeah,
I did, okay?
it's
And I didn't
Vanderbilt
study English.
education,
I
huh?
studied marketing, okay? And we wouldn't have named it something so confusing. We just would have said the best receiver in the country award. And Caden Proctor, if he's on those odds, I'm hammering it right now.
I don't think he is going to be on those odds, but we talked about Jam Miller earlier. Tim Keenan obviously back, didn't really play much of a factor in this game, didn't record a stat, but just the fact that he's back definitely a positive sign moving forward because he's one of those hype guys. We talked about Ty being the hype guy and having fun and everyone rallying around him. We saw it when Tim Keenan was out, him going up to Kalen DeBoer. I think it was the UL Monroe game, and just talking to him and hyping him up and talking to him. So having him back definitely a big sign. On the other end, during practice last week, Jamarian Latham, he is going to be out for the season, suffering an injury. And during the game, Quay Russaw suffered an injury as well. Looks like he's going to be out for some significant time, potentially the regular season with a potential postseason return. What that looks like, we're not exactly sure, but he's undergoing surgery. Definitely two big losses there, but again, on the inverse, getting Jam and getting Tim back, definitely good signs. Speaking of good signs, we introduced it a couple weeks ago. We're going to continue it with our good, bad, and the ugly segment, and I'll give you guys a little time to think. But for my good, just Ty in general. I know you guys focused on a play when talking about good, bad, and ugly and film breakdown, but I wasn't in those film breakdowns, so I'm gonna choose to highlight a performance as a whole. Ty just looked really good, and I talked about the Theismann talk kind of as a joke, but also not really. He's just been really steady. He still hasn't thrown a pick yet this year. knocking on wood on that. But 1,138 yards, 11 touchdowns on the year, 0 picks, just consistent week in and week out. And I think he took a lot from that Florida State game and is using it for good. The bad that missed kick. I fear we are back to the days before Will Reichard with the I'm not going to name the kicker before Will, but I fear I'm not going to call anyone out. No need
Did
for
he go
that. But
to
I fear
did he go to
he
Vanderbilt?
also went to Vanderbilt.
Ah, damn.
Him and
Damn.
Mac, good friends.
Yeah,
Mac?
that's my guy though.
That's my guy. I love him too. I love him
Yeah, I
too,
love it.
Again, not mentioning his name, but I had flashbacks during that kick, and I
Yeah.
like people were saying college football 26, the kicking isn't accurate in the video game until they saw that kick. It was one of the wider kicks I've ever seen. I hope he can correct that, use it going forward. Again, that didn't end up biting us in the ass, but easily could have. It was a 3 point game in the end, and 3 points could have been the difference. So hope to see that corrected. And we talked about it, but the ugly, I don't want to harp on it continuously, but that drop just can't happen. First drive for Alabama, and you drop a walk-in touchdown that again could have impacted the result of that game. Thank God it didn't, but definitely hope to see that corrected. So I'll leave it to you guys. Who wants to go next?
I'll take it. I know Josh and I may have some of the same here, but I'll do a little bit of mix of plays and then also like of the traditional good, bad, and ugly that we used to do, but also with the mix of the new M3 good, bad, and ugly. Starting off with a good on the play wise, Josh and I have the same one. Josh, we can just talk about this one together since it's our same good. But big boy,
Caden
Caden
Proctor.
Proctor. Caden Proctor,
Blitnikoff.
man. Wide receiver of the game, maybe even wide receiver of the year. Some are calling him the next Julio Jones for the University of Alabama. Caden Proctor. He's like Julio Jones mixed with an Eddie Lacy on the outside, and
Ah,
he is
okay.
catching the football and bulldozing his way down there. Just would have wished it would have been a touchdown. That's got to be on my good. And then in general, Alabama's just resilience on the road, ability to just stay composed, get an early lead, and then mount, anytime Georgia mounted a comeback to be able to fend that off and ties composure just throughout the game on the road in a hostile environment was really impressive. And both on the offense and defensive side of the ball, just that ability to stay resilient and composed in such a big game on the road. Bad, I would say the defense's ability to stop the run, especially on the outside. 227 yards rushing. Come on, guys. Come on. I mean, we just can't. We just can't be doing that kind of shit. And then the ugly, I'm just gonna leave it at special teams. I don't want to blame it on one person. We don't know. This is the thing I'll say is when these guys on special teams make a mistake, there is a lot. And I'm not saying it's not just the problem that's pointing us in the eyes or looking at us in the eyes. It could very well be, but I will say on special teams there are a lot of factors that go into a kick, that go into a punt, whether it's a snap, whether it's a hold, whether it's a wind temperature shit. I don't freaking know, but I just want to say that because we don't know unless we're in the game. But the special teams, we obviously had a crucial mistake and a big moment that thankfully didn't come back to bite us in the ass. So definitely want to see that improve moving forward.
And Josh.
Well, I think we've harped on it enough, but I would say for my good, it would definitely have to be the overall performance of the University of Alabama Crimson Tide. Like they performed greatly on the offensive side, defensively. Matt just said it. Came up a little short, but it really didn't hurt us on special teams. But I mean, I think a key kind of moment or key point is that we possessed the ball for 35 minutes out of this entire game. I think that's pretty impressive. We controlled the clock. Whatever Georgia tried to do, they had to come through us, and we had to manage what they did. So I would say hats off to those guys on the offensive side. Really holding the ball, holding the clock, letting it run down, and for the defensive side, not letting Georgia really get established into their offense. So that would be my overall good for the team. Bad, we're gonna harp on this, especially me being on the defensive side. 227 rush yards. that is pretty bad to me. I would never want to see those numbers, in a box score ever again. So definitely need to get back to the drawing board, and hopefully with Tim Keenan being back, his presence at least on the football field will be able to push some of that leadership off onto others and holding those guys accountable. And of course, the ugly play. I think we all spoke to it, but having one of your key role players being in the biggest moment of this season yet, you drop a pass, it kind of it does something to the team. So we kind of need our leaders to establish themselves within the offense and making themselves, pretty much invincible. And you kind of have to take that, all with having that, that name and living up to that standard, you have to live up to all that hype. So you have to make those big catches in big times. So I would definitely have to say it's an ugly play, but knowing Ryan Williams, he'll definitely go back, polish up some of the things that he needs to and make better of all of his decisions in the future.
No doubt. So overall, a very, very, very good win for Alabama going on the road and snapping a 33 game home winning streak. Hadn't lost at home since South Carolina beat them back in 2019. So no matter what happens over the course of the game, that is a phenomenal streak to snap. Alabama continues to snap Georgia streaks, whether it be consecutive wins at home, whatever it is. So a really good win, and because of it, Alabama's now the favorite to win the SEC title, and they're at plus 260, right in front of Texas. And obviously, the reason for that being Florida State doesn't impact their SEC odds. So, not only that, they have the fourth best odds to make the college football playoff behind only Ohio State, Oregon, and Texas, and also the fourth best odds to win the national title. Obviously, you two picking Alabama before the season to win the national title. I picked Texas. I hope I'm wrong. And all three of us obviously had Alabama winning the SEC. So definitely trending in the right direction. But I said it earlier, it gets harder before it gets easier. Five of Alabama's next six games are against ranked opponents, and the lone other game isn't an easy one. You have to go to South Carolina, play a team who had a Heisman hopeful in Lenore Sellers, but it starts with this week, the Mac Hereford Bowl, the Hereford Bowl, really his family. Josh is wearing the shirt there. College game day is going to be on campus at the University of Alabama. 10th ranked Alabama hosting 16th ranked Vanderbilt. Alabama obviously coming off a extremely disappointing and embarrassing loss at Vanderbilt last year. Mac was apparently on the field after that one. Alabama fell to Diego.
Hell, time out. We need to clear this up. Hell no. Don't put no disrespect on my name now, Matthew Travis. I was at a wedding in North Carolina for my cousin. I was watching the game while being at the wedding. So no, it was nowhere near that field, near that stadium either. So let's just not be putting those things out there. All right.
Can't say you weren't a lot happy.
I had three sources. It's the journalistic standard. I had three sources, and that's as far as I'll go.
Yeah, your sources are fake news media, pal. The fake news media. I don't want to say anything else, but the fake news, pal. You don't know what to believe these days. You got to look into it for yourself, and you're hearing it straight from the frickin' source right here, right now. I was not present at the game. Would I have wanted to go to the game? Yeah, I would have been a BA game, but I had a cousin's wedding.
Yeah. So who were you rooting for?
Convenient.
Can we talk about who you were rooting for? That's my question.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Listen, I played at the University of Alabama for 4 years. I graduated from the University of Alabama. I'm a fourth generation at the University of Alabama. Okay. I transferred to Vanderbilt. It was during a time. This is the thing that sucks because I think Vanderbilt is a great school, and I would have wished to have more connection and feeling towards Vanderbilt than I have now because I went there. The truth is, I went and got my master's in marketing, but I will say transparently, it was just tough because it was COVID year. I ended up opting out. Had a hamstring injury, lost two grandparents. So my Vandy career was not what I wanted it to be. But with that being said, it's always been the Tide. Okay.
Josh, I think before we record every week, he takes down the Vanderbilt jerseys he has in the background and puts the Alabama ones up just to look good.
Oh, yeah.
Look,
For sure.
I think I think Vanderbilt University is an incredible school. I want to be clear. I have an affiliation to the Vanderbilt University. I think it's awesome. But, the thing is, like I said, at the end of the day, you got family and you got friends. Vanderbilt
Mhm.
is like my friends. I have
Oh, okay.
respect, I have love. I played, kind of played there, had a rough patch with all the family shit going on, COVID going on. It was an absolute whirlwind. I have utmost respect for Derek Mason and love the way that he helped me through that process. But on the other hand, like I said, I came out of the freaking womb bleeding gosh dang crimson and wore an Alabama helmet. My mom was sitting there in the room and I popped out with an Alabama helmet and almost hit the nurse. They didn't need to pull me out to deliver me. I was coming out with a football. Okay.
Yeah.
Never forget
Okay.
that. So I'm going with the Crimson Tide. That's who I'm rooting for. Now, at the end of the day, yes, was I disappointed when we lost last year? Yeah, I was like, damn it. Like, that sucks. On the other side of me that's sitting there, I'm like, okay, for Vanderbilt, good for them. It's a
Here we
program
go.
that
Here
hasn't
we
won
go.
in so
The
long.
jokes write themselves.
Look, just because my family, again, the family and friends analogy, the
Mhm.
family, something bad could happen, but then to my friends, something good to happen. And I can look at it and say, damn, that sucks for my family, but that's also a win for my friend. You know? Can we
No
have a little
doubt.
bit of, but this
I
year, let me
respect it.
tell you,
Josh is supporting you. He's wearing a Vanderbilt shirt
I
I'm
know. And
for
I
supporting.
you.
support the thing is, Josh McMillon wearing this jersey, obviously trying to freaking troll me in here wearing this Vanderbilt sweatshirt. But the thing is, that's a damn good friend right there because he bought it because of my connection to Vanderbilt. I love it. At the end of the day, I think it's great. I'm excited for this game this weekend, but best believe I hope the Tide rolls. That's what I'm saying.
I'm
I hope they roll. I hope it's a great football game, but I hope the Tide rolls. I've been talking about Pavia all freaking year, saying Pavia is this, Pavia is that. Do I still think?
slanging that thing, huh?
Whoa, whoa! Now you're the one saying it,
No,
Josh.
that's
Whoa,
what you
whoa,
used to say.
whoa there, buddy. Now you're saying it. Can we get that clip?
No.
Clip that right there. Okay, good. I'm gonna post that everywhere. Uh, the thing is,
As
Pavia has been doing it big. I think it's cool to see a guy at Vanderbilt University when the football has not been their thing for years and years. A guy come in there, a quarterback who has made the program seem electric, at least feel electric. I'm not saying that I support every single thing he says, and nor do I think he is very confident, but I respect it and I love what he's doing for the Vanderbilt program. Shout out to Theo Vaughn as well, who's a buddy of mine in Nashville. He's been going to a lot of the games. Vanderbilt's got a little bit of umph in them this year. They've got a little bit of something, something, but it's time for Alabama to get the freaking lick back.
Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, you said it there. Diego has been very good this year. He came back SEC Media Days. He said he came back because he wanted to win a national championship. Don't know how true that is. He sued the NCAA in order to get another year, so I think he came back for NIL purposes, but that's neither here nor there. He's had a good year. He's 94 for 126, 1,211 yards, and 13 touchdowns on the year. Three picks to go with it. He's been good. Other than Virginia Tech and South Carolina, Vanderbilt hasn't really played anybody, but that's besides the point. Last year they did play Alabama. They beat Alabama on their home turf right after Nick Saban said Vanderbilt was an easy place to play. That was their first win against Alabama since 1984. Before that, it hadn't been since 1969. But Alabama
Mm.
doesn't lose to the same opponent 2 years in a row. They haven't done so in more than a decade. The last time coming to Ole Miss back in 2014 and 2015. I saw a report earlier this week, though, that said a man who is familiar with beating Alabama in Tuscaloosa, Johnny
Johnny
Manziel,
Manziel.
will apparently be on the Vanderbilt sideline supporting Diego Pavia. So that will be a wild sight to see. Hopefully they can tame those demons. But Mac, I'm going to go right back to you. Looking at this game as a whole, you're rooting for Alabama. That much is clear. I hope your fingers aren't crossed below your desk. But what does Alabama have to do in order to beat your where your master's degree is titled from?
They have to play Alabama football. They have to do what they did against Georgia. They have to come out there steaming hot and come out and be a team that takes away the hope that Vanderbilt has. You know, in college football, there's a lot of good athletes, especially at the Division I level and especially at SEC. And I think a big difference of when you look at the old Alabama, the reason it was so easy in Coach Saban's per se to come in there and beat Vanderbilt was because they had no hope when they played the old school Alabama. You know, teams immediately their hope, they were they feared us. You know, and so now it's like in this new era when you have a guy like Diego Pavia who says, "Hey, I've got hope. I'm going to go in there and
Mhm.
I'm going to rally these troops." He's a good general. That's what he is. He's a general. He brings that hope. So when he's going to do that, Vanderbilt's not going to come out afraid. They're not going to come out scared. And Alabama has to come out like they did against Georgia, come out, make a statement early on, and then keep delivering the blows over and over again and take away that hope that Vanderbilt's going to have coming into Tuscaloosa. You know, I think the defense has to really stop Pavia. He's a dual threat. He's an exciting player. You know, he can throw the football really damn well. He can run the football damn well, and he's going to continue to do so during this game. He's going to try his best to do that. So Alabama's got to be able to stop him, and that's something they're going to have to prepare for well on defense. They're going to have to stop the run so they can limit the offense on Vanderbilt's side. And then on, you know, Alabama's offense, Ty's going to have to come out there and continue what he's been doing, which is playing Alabama football. You know, he's been exceeding the standard. He exceeded the standard last game and played to the standard of what Alabama football is. And the offense has to come out firing on all cylinders. And I would love to see them establish the run game.
Yeah,
Josh?
I definitely agree. First and foremost, we have to play error-free football. We can't come out there, we're in Bryant-Denny Stadium, and play off complacency and be like, hey, look, we just took down the number fifth ranked team in the country. Like that's not going to win us football games. We did it last year, and we didn't end the season the right way we were supposed to. We're definitely going to have to step it up on defense. We're going to have to get a couple of spies. We're going to have we're going to need guys to hold containment. We're going to need guys to truly play with their eyes and key on to their players. Like we can't have people running down the field uncovered. That's how you get a guy like the quarterback on Vanderbilt dumping plays 40, 50 yards down the field when he's able to make a move or two with his legs. So we have to be able to keep him contained in the pocket, affect him, pressure him some way to get him uncomfortable so he doesn't feel like he have the confidence to just run around our entire defense. That's first
Yeah.
and foremost. Secondly, we need to come out and fire off. We cannot let Vanderbilt get ahead on us early. That's what we dealt with earlier on. They hopped out early on us. I think we had a fumble or something, and we could never get a grab on the game last year. So we need to come out firing on all cylinders, get a 2-score lead, and hold them. We cannot come in there playing because this is a team that if you give them the wheel, they will continue to fight and beat us. Like Max said earlier, this is the SEC. All players in the SEC are good football players. And this is college football. You come out there playing around, you're going to get beat. So I would definitely say, hey, guys need to be firing off on all phases of the game, special teams, offense, defense, no penalties, and we'll be able to come out with the win. But it definitely starts with the fundamentals with playing these guys because this is a team that can sneak up and punch you in the mouth if you're not looking.
You just said it right there. I mean, you Alabama needs to establish a double-digit lead right out of the gate. You cannot let them have hope because Diego Pavia, he is one of the most fiery players you'll see. If he has any reason to hope, if you give him an inch, he's going to take a mile. And he just went into South Carolina, which for my money is maybe the most underrated environment in all of college football, and he shut them up. South Carolina was ranked 11th at the time. Granted, both Dylan Stewart and Lenora Sellers got hurt in that game, but it didn't matter. He kicked the crap out of South Carolina on the road, and if we give him any reason to have any hope early on and aren't up double digits right out of the gate, he's going to get that hope again. He's going to go up to Johnny Manziel on the sideline. I can already see that shot if they have a lead in the first half, and it's not going to be good for Alabama. We came off an emotional win when we got a massive lead and then had to fight to beat Georgia last year at home. Went to Vanderbilt. I remember vividly. I was playing golf that Saturday morning of the Vanderbilt game. Someone asked me who Alabama played, and I said it's Vanderbilt. It's pretty much a bye. We lost to Vanderbilt, and here we are again. Same thing. Emotional win against Georgia. How are you going to respond? Are you going to kick the crap out of them and play Alabama football? Or are you going to let them stay in the game and have a mistake? Last year, the mistake was we had two number twos on a punt return right after forcing a stop and a punt. We had two number twos on the punt return. Vanderbilt got the ball back, ended up scoring, and we lost by 5 points. That was the difference. So it's mistake-free football. Win the penalty battle again this week. Get out to an early lead and kick Diego Pavia to the Canadian Football League for all I care. So that's what we need to see. We need to see dominant football and just not let him get any hope, because if he has hope, he is a dangerous, dangerous football player.
He really is. And I mean, it's like even with the Johnny Manziel thing, him being on the sideline, which I have seen differentiating things because I've seen that he's going to be at some bar, and then I've also seen he's going to be on the field. He's actually here in Nashville right now. But like you said, Pavia, and he's surrounded by some good players too. Vanderbilt has an incredible tight end on their offense and some other good weapons, and defensively, they've done a good
Yeah,
job.
came
Clark
with him
Lee,
from New Mexico.
yeah, Clark Lee's a good coach as well, and like, look, those guys are going to bring it, and like we've all mentioned, it's going to be about Alabama this year. The players, like Josh, I know for a fact if the players when we were playing heard some of the things that have been come out of Pavia's mouth,
Yeah, it's gonna be a
that
fun
team meeting
time.
room, the players
Yeah,
only meeting, you wouldn't want that recorded. We would be
yeah.
canceled for the shit that we would say in there. Reuben Foster, John Allen, like the people would have said the things they would have said just on a little comment, like it's fun to play in Tuscaloosa. It's going to be a fun little joyful time. Like, just best believe that those guys, good thing those guys still aren't around, but I hope that there's some guys currently at Alabama that take it to offense and take pride in protecting and playing in Bryant-Denny Stadium, because that's our trap. We need to remain. We need to keep it as Alabama's trap.
Yeah, and kind of
Yeah.
going off that, I am curious. You guys obviously didn't suffer too many losses during your time at Alabama, but for both of you, starting with you, Josh, what was the mentality you guys took into a game the following year after losing to a team the year before? And the one that really sticks out for me is 2019 LSU. You lose to LSU. 2020, you go to Baton Rouge, obviously different because of COVID. But you guys, obviously, they lost Joe Burrow. They were on a free fall that year. But you guys kicked the crap out of them in 2020 in LSU. What's kind of your mentality going into a game knowing you lost to this team the year before?
Well, I can definitely say, one thing that always pops in my mind is Coach Cochran, and I can hear him saying it now, change the way they think. You have to go into that game with the mindset that, hey, look, you're not going to just play, you're going to dominate. Like, you're going to literally change the way this guy is thinking and make him never think those thoughts again. And that's kind of the mindset that we all kind of like stuck with. Like, hey, look, regardless if you have a billion things going on, we're all going to focus in on this one ultimate goal, and that's kicking the shit out of whoever this opponent is in front of us and making their ass quit. That is a quote directly from Coach Cochran's mouth. Dominate their ass and make their ass quit. And I think that's what we took to heart each and every week, especially like you said with the LSU game. Ole Miss back in 2015 and 2016. Like, we took their loss. They came at 2015, they came into our house and won on some fluke plays. And next year, like, we had a little chip on our shoulder. Like, we were like, no way. Like, they jumped out early. I think who is it? DK Metcalf caught a touchdown on the sideline in 2016, and they just thought it all blew up down in Ole Miss. And they thought it was going to be the same thing again. And we fought back. We had punt returns for touchdown. Defensive alignment
John
scored
Allen.
a touchdown. Deron Payne scored. John Allen scored. I mean, you had Reuben Foster running around knocking quarterbacks' helmets off. Like, we really
Eddie Jack.
changed the way these guys thought on that football field. And they didn't think that they could come back to the University of Alabama or step on the field at the University of Ole Miss and beat us ever again. And that's what has to happen this year. We have to go in, Tim Keenan specifically, now that he's back, he has to take that message to heart that this Pavia guy wants to come in and have a good time at Nick Saban football field. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, Matthew, to elaborate more on what you were talking about, just the Josh explained it really well. Like every game we played, it was to dominate and eliminate their will to succeed, their will to be able to keep going. But when we had those games that we lost the year prior, it was that extra chip on that shoulder. It was like we took it extra personal. We took everything personal that was out there, and used the rat poison to help us. But like specifically for those, like in the weight room the whole week, that game from the remaining year. If it was a game we lost 3 years ago, it would be streaming on that damn TV in the weight room over and over and over and over and over again until we're freaking tired of it. And it was like, hey, if you're tired of it, if you want it to change, go out there and do something about it. And that's what we did. And so it's like you come in with a little bit more chip on your shoulder, with a little bit more like, oomph to your swagger and shit, that we're gonna come in there and take back what's ours and get our lick back. You know what I'm saying?
No doubt, and hopefully, like you both said, they do defend Saban Field at Bryant-Denny Stadium and change the way they think. So, getting into picks, that's obviously going to be the first game we do pick. Last week, Nick Kelly started off pretty well. He was 3-0, and then he freefalled. He was 1-4. That's what you get for picking up. That's what you get for picking against the University of Alabama. I put out the little circus music clip with him picking Georgia. He ended up finishing 4-4, which is tied with you two. I was on top of the standings, 5-3 last week. I'm making
Making
my
a
way up
comeback.
I'm making my way up the standings. I'm 22, 24, and 1. You guys are still both tied. You're both 25, 21, and 1. We'll see if I can make my way back after this week. We'll see after Mac picks Vanderbilt and Josh and I both pick Alabama if we can get that one right. But looking at the guess rankings, while Nick did pick against Alabama, he was 4-4 overall, one game better than Slade Bolden on our guess rankings. Slade was 3-5, so Nick is our current king atop the guess rankings. We'll see who we can get on later in the season to hopefully give Nick a run for his money. So getting into the picks this week, obviously starting off with Alabama, one of two ranked versus ranked showdowns this week. College game day in Tuscaloosa. 16th ranked Vanderbilt at 10th ranked Alabama. At the time of us recording, Alabama is a 10.5 point favorite. And Mac, I will give you the floor for the Hereford Bowl.
Look, man, I hope both teams play great. I hope it's a great game and it's a fun game to watch. And excited to see two of my alma maters compete. With that being said, I am definitely taking and hammering Alabama minus 10.5. Alabama looked great and throughout the season, we finally got our chance to showcase what we really could do against Georgia in a hostile environment. Now it's time to take it back at home, continue on that momentum, and steamroll past Vanderbilt with probably, I think even 2 touchdowns could be what we do here. But I'm going to take Alabama minus 10.5.
Josh, you going with your shirt? You going with your heart? What are you going with?
This shirt feels good. Max speaking so highly of the Vanderbilt University. Give me the tie. What are you talking about, man? Tide are going to go in there. They're going to take over. They're not going to be lackadaisical. We're going to come out firing, hitting people in the mouth, change the way Pavia thinks, and we're going to hit more than 10.5. We're going for 20, baby.
I love it. And I do think Vanderbilt's a good team. They really surprised me with their performance at South Carolina. Obviously, kicked the crap out of Virginia Tech as well. They're a good team. They're ranked 16th in the country for a reason. I don't know what I would have said if you told me 5 years ago, hell, 10 years ago, that college game day would be at Alabama versus Vanderbilt. But here we are in the year of 2025. Alabama, a 10.5 point favorite, and I think they kicked the crap out of them. I think, like both of you said, they're going to have a chip on their shoulder. That game is going to be circulating in Malmore all week, and they're going to be freaking tired of it. Ty Simpson is going to come out and stamp Theismann, and they're gonna kick the crap out of Vanderbilt, get back. So all three of us on Alabama, pretty obvious there. Well, aside from one pick, but third ranked Miami, a 4.5 point favorite. Carson Beck playing. he's playing okay, but Miami has looked very, very good. They're hitting the road to head to Tallahassee, take on 18th ranked Florida State. Florida State lost this week at Virginia, obviously beat Alabama earlier in the season at home. Miami, a 4.5 point favorite. I think Miami's pretty damn good. I am going to go with the Canes. What say you, Mr. McMillan?
Uh, Give me the Canes. I don't feel like Florida State really has it. They came out on fire, but I think a little bit of that steam is kind of blowing off, and they're turning to that regular ACC team. So give me Miami for the dub.
Yeah, to kind of reiterate there on what Josh said is like, look, Florida State came out, they beat Alabama, and there's a lot of people like, why is Florida State ranked this and Alabama's not this? If you're thinking that, you don't watch ball and you don't know ball. That's what it is. There are two different teams completely from where they started the season. Alabama looks a lot more comfortable, and Florida State still looks good, but not as good as they looked against Alabama in that opener. It is in Tallahassee, which gives me a little bit of like kind of lean towards Florida State, but I like the consistency that Miami has shown, and with Florida State coming off of a tough loss to Virginia, lost me a lot of bread. I'm gonna have to go with Miami Hurricanes here, -4.5.
All right, and it's not a great slate this week, so forgive me for the for some of the crappy games we're gonna have to pick here. But Florida State just lost on the road in Charlottesville. Virginia now ranked. They're ranked 24th in the nation. A rather intriguing game. Louisville has been playing well, hitting the road to play at Louisville. Virginia, a 7.5 point favorite. I think they caught lightning in a bottle, beat Florida State. I don't think they cover the 7.5. I'm going to go with the Cardinals covering at home. Mac, what about you?
Like you said, it was at Virginia. So that's one factor. And it was a pretty wild game. And that game is, it is what it is. But I'm going to go with Louisville as well. I think people are very high on Virginia because they beat Florida State, but I think Florida State's a damn good football team. I don't think they're as good as we have thought all season. And so I just think that Virginia's coming to this game a little bit overrated, and I'm going to take Louisville to cover.
Mm. Wow. Well, give me Virginia. I think they played phenomenal against Florida State last week. I don't see Louisville coming out of there doing anything. Give me Virginia for the dub and covering.
All right, Josh going with Josh going there. All right, Texas Tech, a 10.5 point favorite. The Red Raiders are playing pretty well, 11th ranked team in the nation. They're also going on the road to play Houston, who is somehow undefeated, 4-0, both 1-0 in Big 12 play. Texas Tech, a 10.5 point favorite, and I think they're gonna blow out Houston. I don't see this one being
Yeah.
close. I will take the Red Raiders. Josh, sounds like you agree.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Texas Tech offensively has looked great. I don't see them actually falling off anytime soon. I think they're going to be going into Houston and killing Houston. So give me Texas Tech.
And I'm going to join the Texas Tech train. Texas Tech is going to do it as well. Like Josh mentioned, their offense is powerful with a lot of weapons, and I think too much for Houston to handle. I think they're going to cover the spread and win the game.
All right, another one. Georgia at home once again. The Bulldogs falling to 12th in the nation after falling to Alabama. But this week they're 20.5 point favorite against Mac's favorite team to bet on, the Kentucky Wildcats, and I think Georgia is they're embarrassed. They need a win. They need to start a new Sanford Stadium home winning streak. I think they cover that 20.5 point spread with ease. Mac, I don't think you're ever going to bet on Kentucky again, but what do you have in this one?
Look, I look at 20.5 points. That's a
Yeah,
lot of points.
that's a lot of
That's a
points.
lot of freaking points.
Can Gunner do it?
Kentucky, yeah, that's what I'm like. It's like, do I want to sprinkle on Kentucky? Do I want to go back to the place that screwed me the first time? No, that's what a fool would do. Give me the Georgia Bulldogs coming off a tough loss. Kirby's smart. Put something into these guys. Get them amped up. Let's go on there and kick some Kentucky ass so they cover the spread. I'm taking Georgia 20.5. I hope they can do it. That's a lot of points. I know they're going to win the football game, but it's a lot of points. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, give me I'll take Georgia. 20.5 is a lot. Uh God damn. I know for sure Kirby Smart is going to go in this week and he's going to be critical of everything. The only thing who I'm unsure of is Gunnar Stockton. I'll take them covering the 20 and a half.
You don't love that pick, it seems, but all three of us on Georgia covering the 20 and a half. This one, this one is actually rather intriguing. Texas hasn't really played that well. Obviously, the preseason national championship favorite, my pick to win the national title. They're ranked ninth in the nation right now. They're 6.5 point favorite on the road at Florida. The Swamp, definitely one of the toughest places to play in the country, but Florida has not been playing well. They're on a free fall, 6.5 point dogs at home. They have to win or pull a close game at some point. Billy Napier's job is on the line. I think they covered the 6.5 just because Texas hasn't looked that good, but I don't think they win. But I think they cover the 6.5. What about you, Josh?
I'll for sure take. It's going to be in Florida. Is it a night game? It's a night game.
Give me 1 second. 2:30 game.
2:30 game. Oh, give me Texas winning and covering. I'll say it's going to be 7 for sure.
Covering by 0.5 point. It's enough, Mac.
You know, Coach Napier was my first receiver coach. Sarkisian was one of my offense coordinators. Both great guys. It's tough here. You know, we haven't seen Texas do much. Florida hasn't looked great. But
What's Archie doing over there, Matt? Come
give
on,
me the
man.
Longhorns, man. I think Arch is going to pick up some steam here. He got that juice against, what was it, Texas, El Paso, San Antonio, or some shit they were playing the other week. I don't know who it was, but Arch Manning is going to come back, and he's going to shock the world. He's going to come out and play a great game here against Florida. I think Texas covers the spread, too.
That was Sam Houston standing over the DB, who is probably 115 pounds soaking wet, but an interesting choice there. But anyway, Mississippi State looked pretty damn good against Tennessee. I, for one, was very surprised the result of that one, going to overtime, ultimately losing by 7. But this week they hit the road to play 6th-ranked Texas A&M. And A&M is a 14.5 point favorite. It's a very interesting line given what we saw this past week. And I was impressed with Mississippi State. They should have won that game, if we're being honest, against Tennessee. Tennessee came out rather flat. I think they cover the 14.5 on the road in Aggie land. What about you, Mac?
Dude, 14.5 points is a lot of points. Mississippi State, they've looked all right. I mean, give me Mississippi State. We need more cowbell, you know? So give me Mississippi State to cover 14.5.
And this one is a night game, in case you were wondering, Josh.
Oh, wow. And this Mississippi State is playing who?
Texas A&M in Aggie land.
And y'all are rolling with Mississippi State?
14.5 points. It's a lot of points.
Yeah, no, I don't see Mississippi State doing it. No, I don't. I really don't. Defensively, they've always been stellar, but I just don't think I have enough to ride with 14.5. Yeah, no. Let me text
All
that out.
right. Josh going A&M, Mac and I going with the Bulldogs. And the college football slate was so crappy this week. We turn our focus to an Alabama versus Alabama battle in the NFL. Tua Tagovailoa and the Miami Dolphins hitting the road to Charlotte to play Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers. As we're recording this, the Dolphins are currently playing the Jets on Monday Night Football, so the line will definitely change throughout the week. But at the time of us recording, the Dolphins are a 1.5 point favorite on the road at Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte. I'm going to go with the Dolphins covering that 1.5, beating Tua beats Bryce Young. What about you, Mac?
You know, I would like to go with Tua because that's who we played with. I think he's a great guy and, you know, was a phenomenal player at the University of Alabama and good teammate. But I just think the Panthers have more weapons, and out of the two teams, which both have not looked great this year, I'm going to take the Panthers to cover the spread.
Okay. Well, of course, Tua is my quarterback. I love the guy. I think he's done a great job in the NFL. I think there have been some challenges with him and Mike McDaniels. Um, I don't think he's kind of in the perfect situation. I think they paid him all this money, and now they're kind of feeling like, hey, look, is this guy a bust? Is he really going to be the guy that we're going to form a franchise around? And I think he's just in a little bit of a slump right now that he can't get off of him. And Bryce is, kind of upcoming. He won the starting job. He doesn't. He's starting to get the pieces around him now. It's gonna be tough, but give me Bryce Young winning and covering the spread.
All right. You two with the Panthers. I'll go with the Dolphins. It'll be interesting to see how that line moves before the game. So, all in all, Alabama, big win over Georgia. And this week, they need to do what they couldn't last year, win the Hereford Bowl, follow it up, get a win streak going, and just shove Diego Pavia's face into the dirt. That's what I'm hoping to see. I can't speak for Mac or the man in a Vanderbilt shirt right now, but big week for Alabama, big week for the Hereford household.
Hey, let's get it, baby. Bama Vandy. Bama Vandy, biggest game of the freaking year.
VU.
Well, roll tide. Thank you all for listening, and we will see you on next week's episode of the M3 Show. Roll tide.
Roll Tide.